LEDs, DOT approved. There's something I never really thought about. That might be possible. And it works. Everything's locking and working and signaling and switching. Yes, that's a mission accomplished. That's a small achievement. Only a couple more things to make it mobile. There it is. The new ignition cylinder came in. And this one is made by Dorman. And it works. The key turns it. So comes with two keys, two ignition keys. And my door key still works. So yeah, let's install it. This one is like a chrome color or silver color, whereas the other one was a black color, but that's perfectly fine with me. So the steering wheel, I just had it on there just loosely so I could turn the steering shaft. The signal switch is just in there loosely from when I took the other one out. Just a four-way switch holding it. Take that out. I'll try to leave the four ways off this time. Last time I pushed the button in to make it a little bit easier, but I don't think you really need to do that. I don't think you really need to do that. Oops. Hit the horn again. Okay, that's enough for me to get the bolt in. So the tumbler should just, if you want to know how to take it apart, you can see the previous video. Maybe I'll put a link in the description. So this should just go in there. Just like that. And with the key, fuel pump comes on, radio comes on. Good. So there's this long pilot bolt with the threads down at the head. That's what holds the tumbler in. Just one bolt. See if I can get it in there without letting the horn off. There she is. Put an extension on the 8mm. There we go. Now the switches, the new switch is in. Key runs it. Runs everything. Good to go. Now we put her back together. Make sure the four-way switch sticks out down in this hole here. Hazard switch. Try to line up all the holes and everything. Put the screws back into the signal switch to hold it in place. I'm going to put one over here by the signal lever. Put this one in first. And then there's one more down here at the bottom. And then there's this arm, this little plate here with the ball on it that makes the arm work. It slides into the arm, and there's a groove that holds it from slipping or so slide that ball into the arm, the groove in the arm, and then line up this groove up here, put the screw in, if I can remember which one it is. I have 2 screws here, so it must be this one, I guess. Seems awful long. I'll have to go back and watch my own video. Go back and watch my own previous video to see which screw goes where. This is the only screw that's not the same as the other ones. It has a little bit of a different flange on the head. But looks like we got her. The one up top here, it's easier if you put the signal on to the right. If you put the right signal on, you get more room up here to put the last one in. There. Some of these are just plastic, so don't go too crazy. I can put the 4-way switch on last. So let's go right ahead with this horn clock spring deal here. So the brass contact plate on there goes towards the signal switch, and this button comes out like before. And then the locking plate, I believe this only goes on one way. It has a double spline, and it appears to be at the top, and then your horn button will have to come through that hole there, like that. So your horn will be in a certain position, and your locking plate will be in a certain position. And then there's the snap ring that holds the locking plate, steering lock plate. I'm going to use the compression tool. You can get somebody to hold it down like that. I'm going to use the compression tool because DIY, do it yourself. Maybe I'll turn the compression tool like this so you can see. And then I'll just tighten up this nut here. And as I tighten it, I'm just going to push it in by hand and use my fingers, but you can definitely use a wrench, and the wrench will torque it down. Okay, I can see the groove there, the groove that the snap ring goes into. So that's good. Now I got to get the snap ring over. It should be a lot easier to put it on. It was not easy to get that snap ring off. I don't know if it's called a snap ring or not, but it's a split ring of some sort. And let me tell you, getting her on there and getting it off there is not easy. A little bit of persistence and patience and finesse, though. Patience goes a long way, especially when you're working on cars. and maybe 2 screwdrivers. I'll try my knife. I just had my knife sharpened too at the swap meet, and that's pretty much why I have to sharpen it. It's because I do stuff like this. Put that knife through. Oh, she's a tool and she gets used, that's for sure. I get my knife sharpened every year at the swap meet. There's a guy that does it there for like $3 or $4 depending on the size of your knife. Sometimes I bought a brand new machete there once, and I had him sharpen the machete, and it was like so much per inch or whatever. It depends on how big your blade is. But they're tools. They're meant to be used. I use mine every day. So I got the snap ring on there with the help of the screwdriver and the knife and this compression tool, or this locking plate tool. Now that's all in place. We got everything's almost back to normal, almost. Okay, let's just double check some things like the signal. Ignition switch. Okay, I think we're ready for the steering wheel. This baby right here. And the steering just locked, so I guess that's a good thing. That means the locking plate's working. Take this horn button wire. Actually, might be easier if I put that in there first. There's a locking sleeve. You push it in and turn, and it'll lock in there. And then I'll just fish this wire through the hole in the steering wheel. There's 2 holes there. One is for the horn. Man, spring has really sprung. It's supposed to be 20 degrees today. Sun's shining. There's still a little bit of mud, but she's a nice day today. Now I'm going to put the center nut on the steering wheel. Now, I think I can actually torque that center nut down and the steering wheel will press on a little bit. And if you, once you press it on, you might need a steering wheel puller to remove it again. I have several options for the horn button, but there's the carbon fiber horn button that matches the steering wheel. It came with the steering wheel, but the Firebird one is pretty cool, and it just seems to fit pretty good and looks good, works good, kind of authentic. So I'll put the authentic Firebird horn button back on. And it works. Everything's locking and working and signaling and switching. Yes, everything's good. Steering wheel unlocks and locks. Now the final piece is this 4-way hazard switch. I have it in 2 pieces, but there's a spring. There's like a female housing, and then there's like a male button that goes inside of the female housing, and it's sort of spring loaded a little bit. And there's a screw in the middle that has to go into that hole down there. This is not the best screwdriver. This is a number 2 Phillips, but I don't know if it's worn or if I'm using the wrong one. Anyway, I'll get a better screwdriver. 4-ways are working. I can hear the flasher flashing. Only one of the indicators is flashing on the dash, but that could just be a bulb. This car is 35 years old. Alright. And that's it. Signals are working, flashers. I need to tighten that with a better screwdriver, but we came here to change the ignition tumbler, ignition cylinder, and got her done. And there she is. Good to go. The keys look like this. Back in the 80s they had 2 separate keys. Back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s they had 2 separate keys. A round one for the door and a square one for the ignition. So there's the new one, and it matches the old door key pretty good. And I got an extra. I got a spare, which is something I never had before. So a little bit of serendipity, I guess. It's a pain in the butt that I had that the ignition switch just crapped out in the middle of the project. Kind of another thing that wasn't on the list of things to do, but at least now I have a spare key, something I never had before. That's good. And an excuse to make a DIY video. Or another excuse, like I need another excuse. But and there's the old one there. The old one's pretty bad. That's a mission accomplished. That's a small achievement, small accomplishment. These also came in. It's like a 4-pack. You get 4 of these for around 20 bucks, 22 bucks. Depends on if you're paying Canadian or not, like me. If you're American, it's probably only like 18 bucks or 20 bucks. LEDs, brackets, DOT approved. These are junkyard O2 sensors. These are the ones I need, I think. I just don't know how good they are because they came from old pipes from the junkyard. But these are the right plugs. These are both GM. I think they're from a 4.3, but they seem to be the same plug-in, the same thing as a 5.3.